Hello everyone, and this is Miguel92398. Welcome back to Miguel92398 Presents. It's been 5 years since I've done a separate overview presentation, but for those who aren't aware, the 8-bit Mega Man mod is nearing its completion since I've started the development on July 22nd, 2023. It's been more than a year since then. The long process is mostly due to complications of physical and mental health, job burnouts, and other events. But now, I can finally relax myself and tweak some things for most of my mod projects for now. So without further ado, here's the development of 8-bit Mega Man. After finishing the Mighty Number 9's Beck 15 costumes on June 21st, 2023, I had pondered about the last slot to make it 16, and what better way to do that is to make a sprite mod inspired by the Scott Pilgrim mod made by Maybe PK and the 8-bit Mega Man POC in Smash for Wii U by SMB123W64GB, or I would call him for now as SMB. But if I wanted to make a sprite alt for Beck, I have to make a sprite mod for Mega Man first, and what better way to do that than bringing the 8-bit POC in Smash 4 to Ultimate. So before I started development, I asked SMB if it's okay to take the mod as a reference for my Mega Man mod, and he was actually alright with it. As the Smash Ultimate Modding Direct is ending its submissions, I added in the 8-bit Mega Man mod alongside the Mighty Gunvolt Burst Beck mod as a teaser, and I started working on the textures firsthand. The first draft for the sprite sheet is similar to how VG Resource did their sprites, starting from the idle pose, then to the walking cycle, then the running cycle, and so on and so forth. Back then, I didn't know you could have size that's not by the power of 2, meaning it doesn't have to be 512 by 512 or 1024 by 1024. Even better, I could have over 2048 by 2048 as texture, but the issue would be the file size. So I started off with 256 by 256 and thought that it will be big enough to fill all the potential of future sprites. While messing around the sprites and making POC on how it plays out, I made a simple metal blade that billboards the camera. Later on in its development, I would update it to 512 by 512 as I realized that I didn't have any space to fit the miscellaneous sprites. Now at the time, I was suggested by TNN to use sprite sheets instead of visibility animation so that it'll be easier for me to swap out the sprites from frame 1 to frame 2. So I did that and tested the sprite sheet param. However, that didn't work well, so the final revision is 480 by 480 and it worked as I intended. Now what's annoying about the sprite sheet param is that I cannot control the size anytime I want on different frames, so that the sprites can be a bit consistent when swapping sprites in the sprite sheets. Now for instance, I tried that for Mega Man's Up Smash, which I ended up adding another mesh for it, which sadly I restarted the animation due to the nature of Mega Man's Up Smash not actually at the border. Now speaking of animations, initially it was going to be fully visibility animated, but TNN and others suggested me to use sprite sheets instead to make it easier. However, sprite sheet params are still very unknown to me up to this day as well. So given some time to familiarize it through their Discord messages months before I was in their server, finally learned how things done. Originally, all of the sprites I created for the sprite sheets aren't grounded and are floating at the center of the space. But however, the param cannot read float values or decimal points for switching sprites as they had to be consistent. So I made most of them grounded. After that, I made a small animation test and got it through, although doing the first time wasn't the best as I've stumbled issues over issues, so I had to rework the sprite sheets again. Until on October 8, 2023, the first in-game look at 8-bit Mega Man was shown and everyone loved it, but with some feedback such as Mega Man is too small, suggesting to make the sprite bigger. But that wasn't enough. I've stumbled another issue, which the animation failed to load or improperly loading the right sprites every time I added new meshes. So I restart development once again. Luckily, I didn't actually animate it a lot, although it's about 100 animations that I have to restart. So after doing this 5 times, I got things done. So 2 days after I shared it with Mega Man to the public, it's finished up to 105 animations, then 113 animations. Which, at the time, I stopped at Mega Man's final smash. The initial plan was that I would be working on the Mega Legends final smash and either turning them to sprites or their debut look once I reached the final smash animation part for Mega Man. So I made a poll on my Discord, and fortunately the result shows that people prefer everyone being sprites for consistencies. So I started working on Mega Man X, making my first own sprite creation as well. But things went south as, of course, mental health issues regarding family and job happened, which halted all modding work for months. And even if I managed to get back, I've also experienced artist block as well. So it took me a few months until February to came back, and I revisited the poll, and it turns out that everyone changed their mind and preferred the debut look instead of making everyone sprites. It's easier to do this in debut than sprites because Volnut and Geostella don't have sprite version of their characters yet. So 3 days later, I finished the Mega Legends Final Smash, fully replacing X, EXE, Proto Man base, their sprites from the Super Nintendo, the NES, and the Game Boy Advance. And later added Star Force and Volnut into the mix from my N64 Classic Mega Man mod. Later on, I've also commissioned Luigi TKO to make the sprites for X and EXE, and he did a good job for that. On February 16, I've finished the sprite sheets and animations are fully 100% complete at the same time, and finally move on to the alts. Of course, there's the usual Mega Man alts that we all known for, but this time, the color palettes are fully based on the NES color palette, with the exception of C07, which is originally from Mega Man 10. Initially, I had no plans for extra costume slots due to the recent Smash update at the time that broke a ton of Skyline plugins. But I changed my mind and created it instead, with the first one being the casual attire from Mega Man 1's credits. So originally, it's supposed to be a joke or a meme, but however, I changed my mind and be like, well, fine then, I'm just gonna make it instead. But more information for the extra costumes later in this presentation. Soon after, I replaced some of the miscellaneous stuff such as Rush Coil, Leaf Shield, Hard Knuckle, Crash Bomber, the pellets, even imported the Palico model from Monster Hunter for World of Light, as using sprites didn't actually work as intended. Said Palico model is also available as a separate download on Game Banana as well, for those who are interested in playing the voxelized model of Mega Man. Right after I've done all of them, I've taken a short break on posting Mega Man progress for commissions and updating old mods, but I've continued working on the extra costume alts in between the updates and commissions. With the finalized alts, I'd like to show you some cut ones as well. Please take a look. I wanted to work on roll, but however, respriting the rock and roll sprites to fit Mega Man is challenging, and considering that I have to make a voxel model of her for the overworld. Roll's current model is also cut due to the dress and conceptualizing the moveset to make it differ from Mega Man. By moveset, I mean the animations, by the way. Of course, I cannot self-insert myself there, but the reason is more on the hair position rather than self-inserting issues. And lastly, and I know some would be sad about it, it's JAZ. for the same reason why I can't self-insert. It's the mirroring effect for Mega Man, because if a character faced to the other direction, the sprite would mirror to the other side, which I had to make another bunch of sprites for the mirrored version, which unfortunately I'm not gonna do that. I also managed to create a Skyline plugin for the teleport animation that Mega Man does for the entrance, taunt, and result screen. It's basically a rehash of my Beck Mods Skyline plugin, but this time this is using Smashline 2. Parts of my code for the effects include remnants of Mega Man's death effects, which currently does not work on the latest one-slot effect and Acropolis at the moment. I left it there in hopes for future Acropolis or one-slot effect updates that can include the death effect. For now, it is stuck to only C00 to C07 and will not be visible for C08 onwards. The story of the development isn't over yet, as upon releasing the first public beta on Game on June 1, 2024, it turns out that the mod is not Wi-Fi safe, which means testing and requiring more assistance to help sort out the problem. All the work, all the progress, in hopes to be stable and playable online, gone to waste, worth for nothing. Initially, I thought it was the items like Metal Blade that broke the bones, but it was actually the model that I worked on. When I asked Sushi after he releases Street Fighter V Ken Wi-Fi safe animations, I wonder how Wi-Fi safe bones work, which basically just slapping bone into your character and then bam, it's already Wi-Fi safe. Now the main goal for this 8-bit Mega Man mod was to actually include a billboarding effect. Billboarding is basically the sprites or the model actually following the camera on whatever angle it's facing. That's the initial plan I wanted to put on 8-bit Mega Man. So prior to that, I rigged the plain model to the rotation bone and billboarded it there, but it turns out that it distorts the animation and hitbox, so it wouldn't be Wi-Fi safe that way. So I added 2 new bones to support billboard while keeping the original bones intact. One bone is parented to the rot bone and another bone is parented to the hip bone. The reason for that is because certain animations move the hip bones more than the rot bone, and in some cases models rigged to the rot bone are clipped under the stage floor. But anyways, I redone the model, which also reworked the animation by using the animation splicer to make sure that it should be Wi-Fi safe regardless. Upon releasing Beta 2 on October 24, 2024, the issue still occurred. Fortunately, it turns out that the items are not to blame, so Metal Blade is fully Wi-Fi safe, especially with the billboard effect. Thanks to 8455 MB for playtesting the beta version, he listed down things that cause desync when playing the mod online, so I tried to mitigate it until I hit a roadblock. So in short, the 8-bit Mega Man mod is not Wi-Fi safe. Although I don't want to delay the mod further, although it will be better, but however, delaying it further means people will lose interest about it and it'll be tiresome to keep on repeating the same work in progress mod to everyone and hopes that it'll come out publicly and finalizing. So I started making a poll on my Discord for the fate of my mod on July 11, 2025, asking the questions if the 8-bit Mega Man mod's unique character slots have their own Final Smash or retain the original Mega Man Final Smash, even though it'll be weird. And also the big one, releasing the mod in a non-Wi-Fi safe state. Of course, people voted for yes. While it's a bummer that my vision for Mega Man will not become a reality, at least people understand that they would prefer playing the mod offline than playing it online. So I made more polls about it, such as making 8-bit Mega Man mod its own CSS slot, having its effects, and also releasing the 8-bit Wily Castle stage as well. While everyone says yes, in return, I will also start working on the billboard-less and Wi-Fi-safe version for 8-bit Mega Man, basically making Mega Man look like the Scott Pilgrim mod. After all of this, I would like to reiterate that I will continue making support for the 8-bit Mega Man mod after its release, so there will be more updates coming in 2026 and beyond. Anything as long as before the Switch 2 gets modded and has the next Smash game. So upon finalizing the poll, I started working on contents as a refresher by working on the sprites and downloading 3D models for Unique Final Smash as placeholders. Apparently, I started working more on Quint's Final Smash since I have already planned in to begin with, and all of them will be sprite based. So to my surprise, aside from handheld Mega Man and Final Smash, Quint became the second unique costume to be given a unique Final Smash, and this will be included in the final release. So for the first time in a long time, I actually have fun making the Final Smash. I even added some unique moves exclusive to this Final Smash, such as Punk being a physical user, attacking directly, although this brought to my first cut content in a long time, replacing Dark Mega Man EXE with Ballad and adding Sunstar over Proto Man, which brings the entirety of Mega Man World Series bosses and Rokuman and Forte Wonders 1 into Smash as Quint's Final Smash. Although none of the unique costumes get anything special, there are still plans in the future to bring in fan favorites and cancel game for both Proto Man, Base, and Copy Robot. Now that's about it for the development of the mod. I would like to show you the animations. Now do keep in mind, Smash Ultimate runs at 60 frames. Generally, sprite sheets runs differently as it's basically 2D scrolling, which means certain decimal frames would show some random sprites that's outside of the initial frame. For instance, in Mega Man's grab animation, it shows him from one sprite in one frame to a completely different sprite in between frames 1 and 2. Fortunately, you will see a work in progress rework for the mod in this demonstration to show you a smooth and clear frames so that it won't hurt your eyes a bit. Mega Man's idle animation now shows him blinking, something that's not present in vanilla. This to make him feel alive instead of always staring. His other idle animations shows more about him as well. Y'all know his iconic walk animation and that little footstep. You can even see this little footstep at the start of his dash attack as well, just to make it feel some uniqueness. His jump attack matches his original game, even up to the landing animation. The same goes for his attacks as well. His specials are also different at all. The Leaf Shield will be replaced with other shield type projectiles as well. Unfortunately for Starman's Star Crash, due to animation issues, the stars remain 4 instead of 3. Up special is Mega Man's beloved dog, Rush, and his Rush Tail, a staple in the series. In certain alts, it will be different. I mentioned that the texture for the sprite sheet is 480 by 480. The reason for that is to optimize the sprite to fit in its square. That way, the sprite sheet param remains consistent. This is true to every single sprite-based models on this mod. Then there are the taunts. They are also special too, replacing his turn taunt with an iconic dance beam from the old internet culture. Let's also not forget Mega Man's Final Smash being a reference to all of their debut appearance. From X from Mega Man X1, Mega Man EXE from Battle Network, Geostellar from Star Force, Volnut from Mega Man Legends, Proto Man from Mega Man 3, and Base from Mega Man 7. Of course, the planned outs for the unique costumes will have their own references as well. Speaking of costumes, this mod contains 16 costumes, 8 from Mega Man's original costumes in Smash, and another 8 for unique costumes. Now let's list all of them at once. Starting with C08 being Mega Man's casual look from Mega Man 1's credits. During the development of the mod, the original father of Mega Man, Akira Kitamura, created a fan art of Mega Man's casual design from the credits on March 10, 2024, which coincidentally, I created this as a joke and as a test on February 17th. But as close as I was to finish the sprite sheets, I finished it anyways, so happy coincidence. C09 is based on bad box art Mega Man. I created it out of boredom and for the memes. So what I did was respreading some of Mega Man's arm cannons to a blaster and changing the color to look like bad box art. C10 is the helmetless version, which is taken from Mega Man 10. Looks easy, but the hard part is the front face and different angles, especially modeling the 3D model for the World of Light. C11 is the GD alt. Sprites were originally a monochrome sprite for C00, but I made some manual painting to match with the Game Boy aesthetics. But that's not all. This also shows his final smash, which is also a reference to all the portable Mega Man titles as well. C12 is Copy Robot. I basically included a scarf copy-pasted from Proto Man's scarf. The only difference between him and Mega Man is that he's a bit purplish and has red eyes, and on his victory's pose, he even smirks as well. C13 is Proto Man, taken from Mega Man 3 sprites. His up tilt switches to Breakman a little bit, and you can see him putting his shield back from time to time. C14 is based from Mega Man 10. The flames in his taunt is manually created by me, inspired by Mega Man and Base's entrance animation. Initially, the outlines were actually gray as it was from Spriter's resource, but it turns out to be inaccurate, so I picked the black outlines instead. Another fun fact of Base's down special is that the flames were actually ripped from the Mega Man and Base Wonders 1 title. And lastly, C15 is Quint from Mega Man World 2 on the Game Boy. His up special is his trusted jackhammer, Sakugane, with a boost from Tengu Man's Tornado Hold. And as mentioned, Quint also has its own unique final smash as well, referencing the entirety of Mega Man World Series and Mega Man and Base Wonders 1 game. Before wrapping things up, I mentioned that this release will be in its own CSS slot. This mod goes over Mega Man C80 to C95, however this will conflict with the Mega Man X moveset mod as the base mod was over 95. You are free to move Quint to one of Mega Man's green alts to preserve the green color effects and change the costume slots to 15 instead. Initially, this was supposed to be placed at the supposed maximum limit, which is C239 to C255, but it got a crash upon reslotting. So if anything, I hope to make sure that both 8-bit Mega Man and X moveset mod will be fully compatible with one another in a future update. With that said, the 8-bit Mega Man mod will finally release today after this presentation. It's been a long 2 years of development, but after this, development for a better and improved update will continue in 2026 and beyond.